They laughed at him when he said unity could save their dying village. But when death knocked at every door, they finally listened. And what happened next changed everything. The sun blazed down on the cracked earth of Mehrabad, a village that once bloomed with green fields, laughter, and life. Now it echoed only with the groans of dried soil, creaking doors, and broken dreams. Umar, a 32-year-old farmer with tired hands and hopeful eyes, stood at the center of his barren land. His fingers, once used to plucking wheat from golden fields, now clenched dry dirt. He looked around. Broken wells, dead crops, silent homes. But what broke his heart more was not the land, but the people. The village had changed. No one trusted each other anymore. Every man fought for his own survival. Even Harith, his childhood friend, and once the strongest spirit in the village, now sat outside his hut, defeated, staring into nothingness. "Harith," Umar called, walking over. "We can't keep living like this." Harith didn't move. "There's a river just 3 miles away," Umar continued. "If we come together, build a canal, we can bring it here." Harith laughed bitterly. "Come together? Umar, no one here even says hello anymore. You think they'll pick up a shovel for each other?" Umar clenched his fists. "Yes, because if we don't, we will all die. Slowly, alone." That evening, Umar called a village meeting under the old neem tree. Only a few showed up, mostly elders, a couple of children, and skeptical eyes. Sajjad Chaudhry, 55, the self-proclaimed head of the village, watched from his Haveli's balcony, smirking. He liked the people divided. It made them easy to control, to exploit. Every household owed him something: money, grain, land. Umar stood before the small crowd and spoke from his heart. "I know we've lost faith in each other, in our land, in tomorrow. But listen to me. Unity isn't a luxury anymore. It's our only chance." An old woman murmured, "We tried unity once. It didn't last." Another man added, "People don't change, Umar. They only look out for themselves." Umar raised his voice, not in anger, but in urgency. "Do you see any harvest, any water, any life? Look around. Has isolation helped us? No. It's killing us, one dry day at a time." There was silence. But silence is not always agreement. When the meeting ended, most walked away, shaking their heads. Some laughed. Others whispered, "Umar is dreaming again." Only Harith stayed behind. "You never give up, do you?" he asked. Umar smiled faintly. "Maybe because if I do, no one will remain to hope." The next morning, Sajjad Chaudhry summoned a few villagers to his mansion. "I hear Umar's trying to start a revolution," he sneered. "He's talking about unity," someone replied. "Unity?" Sajjad chuckled. "You mean rebellion. Don't let him fool you. If you follow him, you'll lose whatever little you have left." He handed out small bags of flour and rice, just enough to keep them quiet. "Stay in your place," he said, "and let fools chase rivers." But nature has no master. That week, the skies stayed cruel. No rain, no wind, no clouds. Then came the final blow. One of the last remaining wells, deep and shared by 3 families, dried up completely. Children collapsed from thirst. Goats died. A field caught fire from the heat. The village fell into panic. Mothers wept. Fathers fought over buckets. Chaos replaced silence. And in the middle of it all, Umar stood up once again. But this time, his voice shook not with desperation, but with resolve. "You all waited for a sign. This is it. The land is screaming, and we keep fighting while it dies. But if we come together now, right now, we can build the canal. We can bring the river here, or we can dig our own graves with these very hands." This time, no one laughed. Even Sajjad watched from his window, unnerved by the spark he had ignored for too long. And Harith? He stood beside Umar. For the first time in years, his eyes shone not with despair, but with fire. Every day, the skies mocked Mehrabad's suffering. No rain, no breeze, just relentless heat that turned crops to ash and people to ghosts. But amid the hopelessness, something was beginning to stir. Something that could not be measured by weather, but by will. For the first time in months, villagers were gathered in one place, not for mourning, but for a mission. Umar stood in front of the crowd, not as a leader, but as one of them, broken, bruised, but burning with purpose. "I know we've failed each other before," he said quietly. "But let's not fail our children. Let's not let them inherit a dead village." His words echoed in the silence. Then from the back, a voice rose. "I'll help," said Harith, stepping forward. "Not for the land, for my daughter. She hasn't tasted clean water in 2 days." Another voice, "Count me in." Then another, and another. One by one, hands went up. Men, women, even teenagers. Hope, fragile, timid hope, began to rise. But not everyone clapped. From the shadows of the neem tree, Sajjad Chaudhry watched, jaw tight. He called his 2 sons. "We cannot let this canal happen," he whispered. "If they succeed without me, I lose control. We keep them poor, they stay divided. That's how I survive." One son asked, "What should we do?" "Delay them, distract them, break their faith again." The very next day, Umar and a team of 20 villagers began clearing a path toward the distant river, 3 miles of hard, sun-baked terrain. They had no machines, only shovels, pickaxes, and their own sweat. By noon, blisters had formed. By evening, 2 men had fainted, but no one quit. Harith worked with a madness no one expected. He didn't speak much, but his hands never stopped. Umar often looked at him with quiet admiration. One evening, as they rested under a tree, Harith finally spoke. "You know I hated you," he said, sipping from a cracked clay pot. Umar blinked. "I know. I thought your hope was a lie. But now, I'm not sure anymore." Umar placed a hand on his shoulder. "Hope doesn't fix everything, but it gives us a reason to try." On the 3rd day, disaster struck. Someone had sabotaged the tools. Shovels were missing, ropes cut, a wheelbarrow burned, fingers pointed, tempers flared. "This is useless," a man shouted. "We're wasting time. Maybe Sajjad is right." Umar stood up slowly, dust all over his face, his eyes hollow from exhaustion. He said nothing at first. Then he picked up a broken shovel. Its handle was split, but instead of throwing it, he planted it firmly in the ground and said, "If anyone wants to quit, go ahead. But I'm not stopping. Because every minute we fight each other, our children grow weaker, and I won't let that happen anymore." For a moment, no one moved. Then Harith walked over and picked up a rock. "I can still dig with this." One by one, the others followed. Not because they were sure, but because something about Umar's silence, his pain, had become louder than any speech. That night, as they rested under the stars, the sound of drums echoed across the village. It was Sajjad Chaudhry's men, celebrating a fake rainfall with music and food to lure people back to his side. But the diggers didn't move. Even hungry, they stayed. Even tired, they waited. Harith whispered, "Maybe we're crazy." Umar smiled faintly. "Maybe crazy is what saves us." And then, on the 7th morning, something happened. A teenage boy, Azaan came running down the slope where the dig was happening. "Water!" he shouted. Everyone froze. "Water?" Umar asked, heart pounding. Azaan pointed to a patch in the soil where they had just dug. "It's seeping in. I saw it." They rushed to the spot. And there it was. Not a stream, not a river, but a single thread of water, glistening like a miracle in the dust. Some cried. Others dropped to their knees. Harith knelt beside it, touching the wet soil like it was gold. "We're close," he said, voice shaking. "We're really close." Umar's eyes filled with tears, not of triumph, but of belief, finally shared by more than just himself. Far from the dig site, Sajjad Chaudhry heard the news. "They found water?" His face turned pale, and for the first time, he felt afraid. It wasn't the breeze, that was still missing. It wasn't the rain, the skies still mocked them. But there was movement in the soil, and fire in the hearts. The water thread they had found was tiny, barely enough to wet one bucket. But to Umar and the others, it was a sign from heaven. They were on the right path. "We don't stop now," Umar told them, standing over the muddy spot. "This is proof. The river is closer than we think." From that day on, the digging became not just a task, it became a mission of survival. Men dug from sunrise to moonlight. Mothers brought clay pots of water for the workers. Children sang songs beside the trench to keep spirits high. And Umar? He became more than a farmer. He became a symbol. But far away in his mansion, Sajjad Chaudhry burned with rage. The power he once held over the village was slipping like sand through fingers. "They're not just digging a canal," he spat, pacing his marble hall. "They're burying my control." His younger son, Murad, offered an idea. "Then we bury the canal." Sajjad's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "We collapse the trench at night, flood it, ruin it, make them believe it's cursed." Sajjad smirked. "Let's kill their spirit, once and for all." That night, under the cover of darkness, Murad and a few loyal goons poured sacks of mud and garbage into the newly dug trench. They broke the edge walls. They tore the rope supports. They crushed the spot where the water thread had started to flow. Morning came. Umar arrived first, shovel in hand. And what he saw stole his breath. The canal was destroyed. All the work flattened. Panic spread through the village. "This was a mistake!" someone cried. "We were fools!" another shouted. Harith looked at Umar, his voice shaking. "What do we do now?" Umar said nothing. He walked to the center of the broken canal and sat down. His hands trembled. Not from fear, from anger. He looked at the crowd. He looked at the children, especially little Rani, Harith's daughter, her lips cracked from thirst. And then he stood up. His voice was quiet, but it rang louder than a scream. "They want us to break. That's why this happened. Because we were winning. Because we dared to believe. So ask yourself, do we give them that victory?" The villagers stood frozen. Umar raised his shovel high and slammed it back into the dirt. "I'm digging again, even if I have to do it alone." And just like that, Harith joined him. Then Azaan. Then the elders. Then the mothers, even those who had once laughed now came forward with their bare hands. It was no longer Umar's battle. It was their war. That day, they rebuilt half the canal. By the next day, they dug even deeper. And on the third day, it happened. They hit flowing water. A powerful stream gushed through the trench, real, cold, life-giving. The crowd erupted into tears and prayers. Children jumped in the water. Women bathed their feet. Umar collapsed to his knees, overwhelmed. Harith grabbed his shoulders. You did it, brother. Umar shook his head. No, we did it. News spread like wildfire. Even neighboring villages came to see the miracle. Mehrabad, once dead, had become a symbol of rebirth. But Sajjad Chaudhry couldn't hide any longer. That evening, Umar called a village gathering. Thousands gathered around the canal, the water shimmering under lantern light. Umar looked at them with emotion swelling in his chest. He didn't shout. He just spoke like a farmer who once stood alone. Unity is not a slogan. It's sweat. It's sacrifice. It's standing together, especially when it's hardest. We weren't weak. We were divided. And now that we are one, nothing can break us. The crowd clapped. Harith stepped forward and said, "This canal may have brought water, but it gave us something more, faith in each other." The villagers nodded. Some cried. Even the old woman who once said, "People don't change," wiped her tears and whispered, "I was wrong." But one shadow still lingered. Sajjad Chaudhry. He stood silently at the edge, watching everything crumble. No one spoke to him. No one feared him. His time was over. The canal was complete. Water flowed like a miracle through Mehrabad, not just into fields, but into hearts. Dead land turned green. Goats returned. Children laughed again. The village was alive. But the greatest change wasn't the water. It was the people. Where there had once been walls of doubt and fear, now stood bridges of trust. Neighbors shared tools. Strangers became brothers. And Umar, the man they once mocked, was now their chosen leader. One afternoon, Sajjad Chaudhry quietly packed his bags. No one stopped him. His power died the day unity was born. As the sun set over a newly green field, Harith stood beside Umar. "You didn't just save the village," he said. "You gave us back our belief in each other." Umar smiled, his hands muddy, his eyes full of peace. "We were never weak. We were just apart. The day we stood together, nothing could defeat us." The final moral of this story is that unity doesn't just build canals. It builds nations, it builds hope, and it builds futures. Alone, we survive. Together, we rise.